Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge in the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2022 Wyndham Championship. This is my pick show with including the before the lock information. What does that mean? You're going to get my top 25 picks. We're going to talk ownership projections. We're going to talk weather. Is there any waves that might be better than the other? You name it, I'm going to cover it. Make sure you are ready to lock in those final DFS lineups or maybe some last bet thoughts. And with that said, thanks for stopping by. Let's go talk some golf. Okay, so real quick, as always, if you missed a preview show, I do always give you my stroke gain analysis rankings. What is this? This is what these guys need to do very well at the Wyndham to win this thing. And nothing's really changed except on the driving portion. So number one approach, weighted the heaviest, putting. And then instead of off the tee, I went back to good drives. Everything, saw a little bit of information that the rough is up. So want to make sure they're keeping it in the fairway. You got ball striking in there, proximity to pin, which shows up almost 30% of the time. So it's very, it's kind of unique. Typically, you don't get that high of a number on the approach shots coming in. So 150 to 175 is in the model. You got the par fours. There's 8 of them between 400 and 450. You got those 2 long par threes, which is a part of the defense of this course. The other 2, I think, coming around 175. You only got 2 par 5s on here, so you got to make hay on those. Very gettable. And last but not least, of course, we'll look at the birdies because we need these guys to go low. All right, so I also covered in my preview show the comparable courses that I was looking at. And all I did on this is I redefined the model. I simplified it. So what we'll be looking at when I'm going over my picks will be pretty much these 5 stroking categories: good drives, approach, putting, the proximity 150 to 175, and those long par threes. And then I did change one comp course, which I mentioned in the preview show, from Eastlake to Charles Schwab. Just because not enough guys play at Eastlake for the Tour Championship. Charles Schwab has a lot of characteristics that are very similar. Difference will be the greens at Charles Schwab at Colonial are bent instead of Bermuda. With that said, if you're curious what that spun out, looking at these comp courses against this, more of what I call kind of a KISS model, keep it simple, stupid model. Shane Lowry, number one, which no shocker, right? He had an amazing, what we call the Florida swing. Should have won the Honda, just missed that by a stroke. You have Svensson, who's been playing great golf, and the putting's been up. HV3 also nipped at a possible, couple of wins this year and then kind of fell apart on Sunday. Harris English shows up. I was on him last week just as a differentiation. I'm going to play him a little bit this week too. We're still not sure. The ball striking is not where we want it, but man, his putter is typically very good and has had a lot of success on these type of tracks. Russ Henley, of course, almost won the Sony. I've talked to that till I was nausea in the face. But again, I've been chasing him and, everything from a modeling perspective. And what we know about Russ, this should be an amazing fit for him, and it shows that in course history. Of course, Webb owns this place with like a billion top 10s. Corey Connors, feels like it's been a little while since we've seen Corey. At least he didn't play, I don't think, at the Deer or the 3M or the Rocket. But with that said, should be an excellent fit, and the putter has been a little better. Russ Knox, from a ball striking perspective, would be good, but the putter's not great. Kevin Strimel, not a lot of people have spoken about, but has a pretty good course history, especially against these kind of tracks. It's just the putter could let him down. Joel Damon on Bermuda always kind of makes sense. Sunjay M, for me, a little bit like Webb Simpson. His game's just not been where I wanted. My buddy out of Central Michigan, Brian Stewart, does pretty well here. Of course, keeps it, in play. Not too bad with the irons, but typically the putter could cause issues. Lucas Glover, put him right there with Emiliano Greeno, one of the better ball strikers, but can be just a horrific putter. You got Vaughn Taylor, who I believe withdrew from, was it the Rocket or 3M? And I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's just a scoring thing or if he actually had an injury. And then, of course, the master at the Players, who always does very well, Doug Gim, which you have, of course, that pulled in here. Okay, the one model I wanted to show you guys, I had feedback before when I shown this on my kind of before the lock show, so I want to do it again. And actually, I used it to make a decision pretty much between HV3, Adam Scott, and there was one other guy in that range. I was just trying to figure out from a scoring perspective, because they all looked really good from a modeling, and you got the putting thing you're looking at. But from a scoring perspective, HV3 actually came up above those guys, and it kind of just solidified where I was already leaning, that he, even if he doesn't win this thing, maybe he even top 20, but the way he could score, of course, he also can get bogeys. Typically, what I say is he outpunches his weight class. So with that said, his price tag's not awesome. It's a little tough, but right, this field is not the strongest Not as bad as the John Deere, but not too far off. So I like HV3, and then again, what you're seeing here is what I use for showdown. So I weight birdies at 50%. You got eagles at 10, bogey avoidance, birdie or better. Again, you can see the weightings right here. And then I'm looking at the past 6 tournaments or 24 rounds. You can also see what time they're teeing off. And if you see a star, that's probably guys that I'm very interested in. And with that said, like I said, you can go through this, but HV3, Aaron Wise pops up. Just needs the putter right, JT Poston. Recently won the John Deere. You got Svensson playing great golf, and has always been a good ball striker. Just the putter has been heated up. I think he's gained like with the putter last 8 out of 9 events, something to that effect. Shane Lowry, you got Will Z, Killer Keys, you got Stefan Jaeger, who had a nice tournament at the Rocket Mortgage. Taylor Pendrith with a chance to win, struggled on Sunday at the Rocket. Davis Riley missed the cut the last, I believe, 2 events. Of course, I've been on him. I'm going to go right back to him. You got the Canadian who I actually think I heard him say that he was maybe dealing with a bit of an injury and he's gotten over that, and that's why the uptick in where we've been seeing him more. But the price tag is still pretty cheap, so if you want to take a little shot at Mr. Michael Glickich, which I always struggle with that name. You got Vincent Whaley, Adam Scott, Scott Stallings, who I was all over last week, so I can't, every time I'm on someone one week and if I forget about him, it comes back to haunt me. And then Scotty Brown, which is kind of interesting. I like him I think I bet him first round leader. So you guys know, typically I like guys that tee off early in the morning, fresh greens, typically at better wind conditions, but we're going to look at that because that might not be the case so much. But that's the guys I go with. I take a bunch of shots, higher odds if possible, and that's what I do for first round leaders. All right, the last thing I'll show you is I wanted to put against Bermuda greens because what this is doing is then it's going to bring in that Florida swing. It's going to bring in even the PGA Championship, I do believe off the top of my head, was Bermuda greens. And just see how it compares. I might even like this a little better than that first one if you're, looking and building some teams off this information. Same thing though. It's still 24 rounds, 6 tournaments, and the weighting, everything is the same. I just literally clicked the Bermuda filter on Fantasy National. And right to the top goes Will Z, Billy Ho, T-Hat, Davis Riley, Lowry, Connors, Rose, J.J. Spawn, right? Winnett Valera, which is Bermuda Greens. You got Russ Henley, HV3, Brian Harmon, Killer Keith, Seb Straka, right? Won the Honda that was on Bermuda. You got Kisner, who's been struggling with, the ball striking, but when you put him, again, on Bermuda, it seems like that those kind of courses fit him. And then Danny Lee, who did have a WD, I believe it was from the Rocket, but he's in this field, so someone you can think about. He does score for that kind of price tag. You can also get bogeys, but the guy can get hot with a putter. All right, with that said, let's go jump over to Fantasy National. Let's go do analysis, kind of show you why I'm picking the guys I am, give you my thought process. You're also going to see information that's going to help you maybe make different decisions. It's all going to be, again, I focus this show more on the large GPP tournament. What does that mean? It means the ones that, the $20 entry for the 250K. Now, there's guys, of course, that I'm picking that you could also use in a cash lineup, but I'm giving you some options to make your differentiation picks when we get down to cheapies or maybe even the unsung guys. All right, well, let's go jump over to Fantasy National. Okay, I've hopped over into fantasynational.com, and as always, I give them a plug. I'm actually not affiliated with these guys, but I've been using them forever, and it's the best tool out there, especially if you are just a focus like I am on PGA golf tournaments. All right, with that said, I want to give you a little information on what we are looking at here. Of course, I'm using Draftkings pricing, but this, the picks can work for any, form that you use. If it's FanDuel or Yahoo, the pricing is just going to look a little different than what you see here. As always, I'm trying to keep it more towards a recent form. I like to look at the last 24 rounds. People take larger samples. I feel like that kind of skews what's actually going on with the player. You could even turn it down to like the last 3 tournaments, but I like what will show off the last 24 rounds. We're going to stick with that. I've got no filters on, but I've already, as typical, have done, put these guys against the comparable courses, Bermuda Greens. Kind of, I keep kind of narrowing it down to get to the field that I'm at. And then, of course, we're going to look at this mini model that I already showed you. It's going to be good drives, approach, putting, this proximity 150 to 175, and those long par 3s, I think, are the 5 stroking categories I want to focus on. Of course, as I mentioned, I think the average score is about 21 under. I know last year was 15 under with the 6-man playoff. And I'm not really sure why that happened, to be honest. I don't remember any crazy weather or anything. So we'll see. Maybe they grow the rough up, which I've heard the rough's going to be a little longer than that 2.5 inches that I heard previously. So we'll see if that has anything in it. But typically 21 under, 22 under. So these guys are going to have to go low. So we need to make birdies, and we're going to want to see hopefully green on the way up here. You're going to see the last 5 tournaments they played in, what their recent results are. And when I click on this, we'll also look at tournament history for these guys. So how have they done here at Sedgefield playing in the Wyndham? All right. With all that said, let's get to the picks. All right. So right off the bat, as you guys already probably have been looking at, pricing is a little tough, I think. It's kind of very, I don't know, heavy on the guys. So the guys that you'd want to play, like having Webb Simpson at 10-7, I think is ridiculous. You can see where my model ranks got him. And that was great for me because, if you've been with me and you've been watching me, I've been off Webb for like the past 2 years. I don't know why. I mean, of course, he had a neck injury a while back, but his game, just the putters kind of went away. He started getting wayward with the tee ball. I still like him on the long approach, that 230, 240 out. He's usually pretty solid, but neither here or there, you can see that, wasn't a hard choice. And I'll tell you right now, with the options that you have at the 10,000 between Billy Ho, Webb, Lowry, M, and Zalatoris, it was pretty simple for me. So I also said Sungjae M for me. You can kind of see this from a birdies. He's also burnt me multiple times. So I'll be dead honest, there's a little bit of past scorched earth between me and Sungjae M. I don't usually get him right, so that's part of it. So I'm putting that full disclosure. And I'm not saying he's a terrible play. Like, I like him not so much when it's got to get to 20 under. Now, if somehow it was going to be windy here and we need guys that are just, hitting fairways and greens and hopefully they're making putts here or there, he'd be awesome. Hence his win at the Honda Classic a couple years back. But when it gets to a scoring fest, for me, I feel like Sungjae M just can't go low enough. Now, I haven't sat there and went through, his best rounds and all that, but just knowing him for the past few years, keeping an eye on him, that's my perception. And also, like I said, I just don't feel like his game is finely tuned as it has been. So those two are out. And then honestly, I was looking at Shane Lowry was the guy that I was going to plug in on multiple fronts. But what got me off him, and we'll look at this in ownership projections, was that he is right now projected to be very highly owned, where Will Z's around less than 10%, and Lowry was somewhere in the upper 20s. We'll see to confirm that last I looked. So that honestly is my choice while I'm going with Will Z. You can see from a putting perspective, and it is a bit of a putting contest, that could come back to haunt me. But also, I feel like Shane Lowry, not too much far off what I just was with Sungjae M. That give me Shane Lowry under tough conditions where it's not a birdie fest. I feel better about playing him. Will Z, as you saw, where, I know he didn't have the greatest Rocket Mortgage, but shot 7 under on Sunday. Could have easily been 10, 11 under. And if the putter just, give me a few rounds with Will Z where his putter actually cooperates and he doesn't have that goofy 5-foot and end misses, he could light this tournament up. So I'm going to stick with Will Z. And like I said, a lot of that is due to the scoring aspect and also ownership. And literally, if it's between $300, I like Will Z better. And then I am going to put in Billy Horschel, which is another 10,000, but you'll see I've also got a lot of the lower guys. So again, we'll equal out the pricing that you can use these guys to actually build teams. Billy Ho, like I said, I mean, I'm a Billy Ho fan, which there's not a ton of those guys out there, I don't think. But whenever I can play him, when I see these courses pop up, of course, he's had an amazing course history here. He just won the Memorial, which kind of came a little out of left field. That's not the typical Jack's Place that I would think he would win, but it happened. And out of all the analysts, I don't think any of us were on him. So yeah, it would have been a nice to be on him and have a bet. Would have definitely give a differentiation. Let's go click on Billy Ho. Typically, if it's a guy that I'm picking, I want to give you guys a little more information for your own view. So right, typically he hits that little slight fade. He likes, you call it a fade, a slice, but a slice, I always think of it straight and way right. A fade, he works it down the left side, it brings it back to the middle. As long as that's working, averages around 300 yards, very accurate. So that's something that we need here. Of course, Bermuda's his best putting surface out of the three. And, shows he can typically handle the, conditions if that happens. We don't have a lot of information right on the last 3 tournaments, but the Memorial, of course, where he gained 4 strokes here, did everything else very well. And usually this tells me the kind of the tell. I like to click on that. And what this does is give me his top finishes. So he's got 5 wins in his past. Tour Championship is Bermuda. I don't need to go through all these. Funny enough, a few of these are bent. You got the Arnold Palmer recently, which had a nice show in very tough conditions. That was Bermuda. And RSM, I think, for me, is a good comp course. Just trying to see anything. St. Jude, good comp course. OHL, RBC. There's a Wyndham again. So this kind of fits. I mean, there's certain courses where we like to play guys. We've been doing this a while. This is a course where Billy Horschel has shown and should do very well. And also recent form for me looks good. Now you could look at the Genesis and the US Open, but you could kind of take those three tournaments and you can't really compare them to this, right? They're not majors. You got a link style. There was, some weather conditions. This is literally just a pure scoring fest. And, that's what you need to kind of position your mind thought at. Next guy, right? And this is my flavor, Russ Henley. I'm always picking him, preaching him, and betting him. And, the betting side has definitely not worked out now. I think I covered some stuff with some top 10s and top 5s, but still have not hit that outright for a while. Well, actually, never, if I remember correctly. But of course, his tournament history too. There's a bit of horses for courses, and some of these guys are going to be chalky. I understand that. I'll get my differentiation as we go down. But yeah, same thing. I mean, and also, funny enough, you're going to see this putting. This putter, as I mentioned, I think I picked him also for the Rocket Mortgage. Has not been as good, but over his career, we'll go take a look at this real quick. You can see very similar to Billy Horschel. So there's kind of this prototype that fits this track that's done well here. Even like a Webb Simpson, hit it, on average a little less than 300, but very accurate. Great putter over a 12-month rolling period on Bermuda. So that's the difference, right? I mean, those stats are pulling in a ton of bent. Let's see here. You can see really the last time he gained with the putter was on Bermuda at the Players. Now, I don't have these, the opens, but I would guess he didn't do too great with the putter as he missed a cut. So anyways, that's why you can feel pretty good. Oh, let's go do this real quick. Sorry. I also want to show you where he had some of his best finishes. So, of course, he won the Honda way back, Bermuda, Florida Swing. He won the Sony at Wailea previously a while back. And then, of course, should have won it this year. Hideki, good job on just, I think it was like a 4 or 5 shot lead. We've had a bit of that this year. A lot of those, big comebacks. Now, of course, recently with Tony, that has not happened. But before that, you can think of the PGA Championship. I think 8 shots back was JT. You had Burns win. Shoot, now what was that? I know he won the Valspar, but he won one after that. It doesn't matter. These tournaments start to run in the brain, but he also came from way back. Where I was going with that is, it was too bad. I can say I was kind of counting the money before it already happened, and that always causes issues. You got the Honda again in Bermuda. You see it at the Tour Championship. At East Lake, that's a while back. RSM, Greenbrier, which would be a great fit. I think they're like Colonial. They're almost identical. The old TPC white course, but they don't play there anymore. Haven't in a while. I think the last winner was Joaquin Niemann, which really doesn't make a lot of sense. But because I just think of Joaquin winning like the Genesis, that makes sense at Riviera, But neither here or there. There's the RSM again, RBC. So you can see a lot of his success has come on these exact tracks. Like a Daniel Berger. Daniel Berger, which we haven't heard or seen much from him. I think he was dealing with back issues. But if Daniel Berger was in this field and he was healthy, I would think he'd be priced right up here in the 10s too. All right, Corey Connors. Last time we seen him was at the Open, and I had a really good showing at the RBC. I feel like a lot of that was done on Sunday, if I remember correctly. Felt like he was pretty slow to get running in the beginning of that, but made up a lot of ground on the weekend, especially Sunday, if I recall. And you can see again, not the greatest tournament history, but not bad. He had a T22 back in 2019. I just feel like his putter has come a long way. I feel a lot better now at any time, right? We could go back, but again, that similar mix, right? That 300 yards, very accurate off the tee, almost 70%. You can see Bermuda is his best worst surface, if you want to put it that way. And let's see here. So RBC, that would be bent. Wells Fargo, that was at that TPC Avondale Farms, not at Quail. But I also believe that was bent. RBC did gain on Bermuda greens, 2 strokes. The Players he gained, we'll call it a stroke. The Phoenix Open is Bermuda, that's 3 strokes. So you can see he started to have some pop-up showings with the putter. So I feel good with Corey. Draw hat, I have no issues, honestly. this was the range I was telling you about between HV3, Adam Scott, and Terrell Hatton. That's a tough decision. It really is. And I couldn't fault you for going with any of them. So I went with a pure scoring aspect. You know, if you don't really think one of these guys for sure are going to win this tournament, and I'm not sold that, you know, none of these three will actually win this tournament. Now, will they all could possibly easily top 10? Sure. But then the next thing I was like, okay, from a scoring perspective, who do I like from a scoring perspective? And again, Terrell Hatton, I like to play him in Showdown. I mean, he can get super hot too, but when we've seen him in the States this year, it has not been the greatest. I mean, he did pretty well in the PGA Championship, but we go back. Let's go take a look at T Hat. This also makes me a little nervous at driving accuracy, but he is a good putter. I mean, that guy can putt, and you kind of see that right here. You know, gained 8 strokes on Bermuda at the Arnold Palmer to come a second. You know, another crazy on Bermuda green. So there's reasons why you want to play T Hat. And in his heyday, when he's really firing, these irons he can gain 6-7 strokes. So he had a miscut at the Houston Open. That's going back a ways. Let's go. So I guess the Masters, but I think that was his best finish at the Masters. He just does not do well there. He had a miscut at the RBC. So it's kind of funny in my brain, and maybe this is just catching him at certain times. I feel like his year has not been even as good as this, and that, you know, he's had some really frustrating meltdowns. But honestly, I mean, it's not terrible. So yeah, like I said, I can't fault you. I don't know how many lineups, as you guys know, in the big game, that's what we're talking about. I don't typically do. I never. I think maybe once or twice in my life, I've ever put 150 max in. I just think it's kind of nuts. But typically around 20 lineups is somewhere where I fall. And I don't know if I'm going to get there. I think I'm more excited about the betting side for this last tournament, regular season. But anyways, T Hat, no issues. Adam Scott, same thing. You can see he's been playing good golf. We all know he fell apart on Saturday at the Rocket Mortgage. If it wasn't for shooting I think he had, a 77, 78, and then went nuts. And in Fuego, I called him, you know, like, typically if you ever see a guy have that bad of an outing, expect the next day to be, if they're playing good golf, it's going to be a pretty good turnaround. You know, it's just pretty rare for these guys to go out and just have a disaster. So unless they're hurt, you know, unless there's something going on we don't know. But anyways, of course, he could have won here last year. First playoff hole, had a 3-4 footer to win it, missed it, and then, you know, had to go to the next hole. And then, of course, Kisner won. But yeah, been playing good golf. I have no issues. And if that putter gets hot, which, you know, it hasn't been, he's not a terrible putter by any stretch. Just that's kind of the next thing. If he just has that where he gains a few strokes with the putter here, could definitely do very well. All right, let's go to Harold Varner again. You know, solid course history here, and just playing really good golf this year. I mean, of course, he won. Oh, geez, what was that? Was that the Dubai when he beat Bubba Watson? Sunk like a 90-footer for an eagle, if I remember correctly, to win that thing. Again, but you can make the argument, you know, not as accurate off tee, but has more distance. I always kind of pair him in my brain with like Johnny Vegas. Who's the other guy that I will, if I'm looking for bombers that can get a little wayward? I'm blanking right now, but HV3, Johnny Vegas. I think Luke List is more accurate than him, you know, but neither here or there. We can see he had a nice run here. RBC, a third. He's done really well at the RBC. Great comp course. He got the players. The Valspar, if he would have just broke neutral, the putter would have been better. Last good showing was at the RBC Canadian. I think he is actually an RBC guy. I think he is. I think he's on the sponsor list. I'm almost 100% sure. Anyways, long story short, I like HV3. I think he can outscore these other guys. Of course, he's got to make the weekend. That's where I'm landing. Like I said, and maybe ownership, when we get to that, might also dictate. So don't go by these numbers you see here. They're not updated. We'll go to ownership projections and flush that out. Denny McCarthy, I'm just going back to, I mean, literally, you know, I picked him last week. It was kind of a last minute. I mentioned this in my, you know, kind of recap show for the Rocket. The last minute I was all about the bombers that could putt. And then I was like, wait a minute, you know, we don't even need to be bombers. We just need really good putters, and plugged in Kisner and McCarthy, and then that went sideways. And that just took me out of a lot of things. But you can see again, you know, not super short, but 290, very accurate. Again, well, pretty accurate. I want to say very, but pretty accurate. But the guy's best surface is, you know, putting on Bermuda, gains almost a stroke on the field. And you can see that here, that is his main weapon. So of course he lost his main weapon, and then the rest of his game, even though it's been trending pretty good. I mean, the irons and off the tee have been kind of, you know, a little better than usual. I'm just looking for a big bounce back, and if I don't play him, I'm going to regret it. and this is a bit of a putting contest. Of course, he's also had a pretty good history here at T15 at 9th, at 22nd, at 36. So everything says he should do very well. Siwoo Kim, it's funny enough. I know he's going to be maybe the chalkiest player, and it's so hard not to play him. I mean, you got everything lining up, right? So he's playing, for him to have back-to-back T15 and T14. We'll go look at his further history because he's volatile, right? I mean, he can come out over, but when you see this course history, it's almost as good or better than Webb if you take the 5-year sample. Let's go look at that real quick. I might be wrong. It might be Webb by a hair. Where's he at? Webb. Yeah, it's pretty close. T7, T3, T2. I mean, they're both ridiculous. Except for that miscut, I guess will push him out. But I mean, it's unreal, and that you don't typically see also with Siwoo Kim. Now, again, he's had luck on the Donald Rosses and, of course, a Pete Dye specialist. But again, he fits that mold. 300 yards off the tee, 65% accurate, good ball striker, even not bad around the green. It's the putter, but you can see that over the last 5 tournaments, that has improved. Hence, while he's been doing what he's doing, but this is more what you typically see, from Siwoo is, a good finish, a miscut, a 60th, 73rd, an 11th, just kind of all over the board. And so, if there's the one guy that could just explode from a chalk bomb, it could be him. But from a cash lineup, it's really hard not to play him. From a GPP perspective, you might want to make some changes, and we'll look at ownership projection, but everything says, play the best plays. We went with that scenario. It'd be hard to get away from Siwoo Kim. So a lot like Danny McCarthy, I'm going back to Kevin Kisner, of course, past champion here. We've had a lot of guys, not a lot, but comparative, we've had a few defend their titles this year. If you include Rory McIlroy at RBC, even though they didn't play there for a couple of years, but I'm counting it. He won there last time a PGA tournament was held. Of course, Kisner. This I've always stated there's certain courses where Kisner and when Kevin Nas and even the Brian Harmon, certain courses that these guys can compete at and make their money for the year and their FedEx points, and this is one of them. Now, we had a good showing at the Travelers, not a bad showing at the Open, and then you got these miscuts around it. I mean, Kisner has not been playing great golf. I mean, if you take this 12 months rolling, again, he fits that model, just around 300 or less, very accurate off the tee, gains almost a half stroke on the field with Bermuda. But this is what's been, and off the tee, it does not bother me because he doesn't hit it far, but you just have to be accurate here. You don't have to be super long. It's the irons. And when the irons pop, that is when it's a game changer. So hence, I mean, this is not called being pop, but this is just being a hair over neutral. The putter went in fuego. Let's see again when he had a good iron round. That's funny. Didn't gain there, but gained with the irons at RBC. So the Sony Open, which I think is one of the better Wailea comp courses, he was right there, which funny enough, because I was so focused on Mr. Henley and Matsuyama that I don't even recall. I remember Adam Svensson, funny enough, having a good showing. I think he ended up 7th, but I felt like he had a chance to also win. So it's just a perfect fit. I got to go back to him. I know if I did not pick Kisner and Danny McCarthy, that literally could be first, second for this tournament. All right, so we can move along a little bit quicker. We got Mr. Thomas the Train Kim. Been playing great golf. I mean, good for him that, he's got his status locked up now. I just, for the price tag now at 8,600, there's some other guys. And again, I've already got some higher up guys, so I had to kind of pass, but I have no issues. Taylor Pendrith, I didn't think, honestly, that the Rocket was a perfect fit. I mean, I looked at Taylor. What I know about him is, again, the elite distance. And then what's really interesting, which I did not dive into, is that around that 75-yard approach where that's where his driver was getting him. He's actually very productive. Now you're going to see here, typically the irons are not that great, but if you look at just that stat, it kind of all added up because that's where typically 80, 75 yards is where he was coming in at. And then the putter worked until it didn't on Sunday. Seabez, man, you can see the model loves him. Everything makes sense. The showing in 2020 was not the greatest, but I don't feel like Christian Bezaden, who I have not figured out yet, can he go low enough? I almost feel like he's in that kind of mix where he needs a little bit tougher course to compete. I mean, I'd have to go back and see what his lowest 4-day total has ever been. I don't know off the top of my head, but I don't think it's 20 or 21 under. So that's The only little knock that I've got against Seabass, also the driver, which is showing arrows coming up pretty good. Let me go look at this because typically that was always kind of my concern. And maybe it was just he got wayward for a bit. Let's go take a look. Okay, right here. So this was last summer where the driver just kind of left him. So that's been a while. I mean, he's been pretty solid since, and the model shows that. So again, that's where you're, if you watch so much golf and you kind of have this all banked in your brain, that sometimes you kind of think of guys in a certain way, but honestly, over the last, whatever, 6, 7, 8 tournaments, they've actually been playing really well, hence why the model helps. Brian Harman, no issues. You see some good golf. Again, this should fit him. Like I said, there's a lot of guys all in this 8,000 range that if you want to build that, $8,000 lineup, it's going to look good. I can't fault you. I just don't know if some of these guys can get you there from a scoring perspective. JT Poston, again, I've got nothing to say against him. I'm actually a little bit, we'll see how it goes, but ownership projection, I'm just going to go to Wise. I feel like that's kind of a little bit of a pivot. And, he's kind of been out of sight, out of mind a little bit. He hasn't played the last 3 tournaments. We haven't seen him since the Open. And, right, he was just ball striking as always very well, but the putter did start to come back. Makes a ton of birdies. So, again, from a scoring perspective, that's why I'm leaning towards Wise. Hasn't had the greatest history here, but also I don't feel like his game has been as good as it has been. So, I feel like his game has made a turn this year, especially within the last 6 months. I mean, you can see, let's take this back, I guess, pretty much since the RBC, the Mexico Open, you had the PGA at a 23rd, Memorial had a chance to win. Let's go do this. I want to see where he's done most of his. Byron Nelson, which I believe that's Bermuda. That's before they went to TPC Craig Ranch. That's a long time ago. I was just curious where's one win. There's Bermuda Greens again. He's had a lot of success on Bermuda Greens. I think that was also part of it for my own, little bit of, hey, that also makes sense. You can see Justin Rose fits my model. Again, I have no issues. I don't know, he had a T10 here last year. It makes sense. I mean, a lot of it makes sense. Maybe it's a price tag, and maybe it's I'm an idiot, and then I want to go back to Davis Riley because I just feel like he's just going to make that turn. I mean, we've seen so much good golf out of him, and so that's just where I'm kind of leaning. Well, again, that might be a little bit, some decisions could be changed, but you can see just a putter all of a sudden left him, where he gained 9 strokes at the Mexico Open and then lost 8 strokes at the Travelers. Ball striking wasn't too bad. Was firing with the irons, and then just recently lost 3. So hopefully he's figured something out. I'm going to give it one more go. I don't even know where he is. He's got to be fine on the FedEx Cup, I would guess. I don't know where he fits in. And not that I'm going on that narrative. I'm just curious, just for my own perception of where he's at fitting in. Killer Keith, I think, will be different. Not the guy that exactly I'm looking for, and you can kind of see his past results reflect that. Again, it's just not where I think, not saying he couldn't do well here, but you can see there's just some things that are kind of popping up now. I think he has an early tee time, and if you want to bet him for a first round leader, could it happen? Yep. Let's go click on Killer Keith just real quick. I just want to see what he's been up to. So it looks like the irons. Still a lead with the driver. The putter hasn't been bad. A lot of that's been on bent. So, make of that what you will. Of course, he won the Honda, which is bent green. So, I don't know. It could be a differentiation play. I just, not where I'm kind of lying. Again, I'm going to go back to a guy that I picked last week that missed a cut. I'm almost 9. Yeah, the Rocket Mortgage. That says right there, missed cut, which was shocking. Hubbard was on a crazy run, and it's not going to represent here. Like I said, the Barracuda, I think he ended up 4th. Definitely top 10. He was 7th or 4th, something like that. 13th. So, he was putting together some really good golf. You can see tournament history. I don't know. I give it a B-. But you can see the model loves him. Actually comes up number 1 for those 5 stroking categories, which should equal out to a good finish. Let's go take a quick look at him. So you can see, doesn't hit it long, but pretty accurate. Putting up Bermuda is not his best surface, but he's a pretty good putter. Let me go take a look at, let's just see. We can do this real quick. So the Honda he gained this year, almost 6 strokes on Bermuda. The Barbasol, I think, is bent. Let's go. Yeah, Keen Trace. Is that Truckee, California, I think. That one. There's the Honda again, the Wyndham. Gained in 2020, gained almost 3 strokes here with the putter. So yeah, I'm gonna go back to him. Again, a lot of these guys, I feel like maybe I picked them on the wrong course, and I'm gonna stick to more of a bomb squad next time the Rocket comes along. Scott Stallings, which kind of fits more for me in the bomber squad, but like I said, you can see he's just been playing really good golf. Not the greatest history here. He's got the distance, the accuracy falls off a little bit. But he's been gaining with the putter, gaining with the irons. I mean, just recent form, especially like I said. I mean, it's not hard to just look at the finishing. I just want to see how he was doing it, and he hasn't really been doing it a whole lot with the putter. It's been irons and off the tee. Let's go see where he's had some of his best. So the Farmers, that makes sense. Farmers again got that length, but there's the St. Jude, which I think is a great comparable. TPC Craig Ranch. I don't know that one there is like almost like just can't compare unless you just want to look at from a pure score fest how you do. The Deer, there's a Schwab at Colonial, so he had a good showing recently. The Bermuda, which is Bermuda Greens, but we don't have. I would guess he had to gain with the putter. If you gain 10 strokes, he had to gain a little with the putter, I would guess. All right, Jason Day. I'm not gonna spend any time there. No, thank you. Not for me. Munoz, probably the one where it's kind of funny. I think he's been getting talked up a little more than I expected. I think it's the price tag. I think people are starting to finally get on the bandwagon that this guy is an elite. I think an elite talent from a ball striking perspective. It's the putter that gets him in a bit of trouble. Not a bad, of course, T29 is his best showing last year. But I just know what this guy can do from a scoring perspective, and that's why I'm on it. I think I told you guys, if you watch my preview show, there's guys that'll just pop into my brain before I do any kind of research. Literally, I just kind of look at it almost from a one and done perspective and say, I just for some odd reason really like this guy. And even though the model and everything says that he's not the best, there's just something. And you can see, you just see all this green, just 20s and third and, 14th, you had a chance to win. Yeah, he was there at the Byron Nelson. He was there at the RSM. Right, he's had that 60 and a 61. So I hit him first round leader twice this year, which from a betting perspective, you probably heard a bit of this and you guys have seen it. If you bet a lot, it's been a weird year, right? It's been a lot of the guys that are, 15 to 1 and less winning, where last year was nice. Like there was a lot of, let's see, you had Cameron Champ win. You had Cam Davis, which, that was his first win, so you had good odds on him. You had Glover at the Deer. I'm literally just going over the guys that I hit. Harris English at Travelers. You had Kepka at Waste Management. He was still like, I feel like 40 to 1 or something. Like there was just a lot more higher odd hits last year. And I would love it. Hopefully we get a long shot out of this one. And, the field's not super, super strong. And that's another thing. I think the field strengths, except for the John Deere, where you had JT Poston win, and I thought he was better. I thought I got him 80 to 1, but maybe off the head it was 40 to 1. It doesn't matter. He was like one of the higher odds, and he had Cage Lee that went back to back, which was shocking because that field at TPC Craig Ranch was quite strong comparative to like what it has been. Okay, getting a little off tangent. All I'm saying is Sebastian Munoz, I think he's 45 to 1. He just, for me, was going to be a play before anything. There's people, talking about pivoting Adam Long. Adam Long, like I said, West Coast swing. People say, I don't know where to typically want to play Adam Long. I like him when we're on the vacation swing for a win. When the fields are not as strong and his ball striking can come out the putter, I think it's just doesn't get hot enough and he just can't score enough. He's solid, but he just doesn't have that. You can see this from his placings. And you can see he's not done the best. Let's take a look real quick here. So he miscut at the Memorial, miscut at Wells Fargo, but gets some good showings. There's a lot of reasons why you'd want to play him scoring angle that I'd rather have Munoz than Long. Kevin Streelman, I'm just really going to quickly say, I think he could be sneaky. There's been no talk on him. I don't think anybody's on him. The putter is typically the cause him, but you can see the model likes him. He had a nice showing at the Barbasol, which again, people, didn't watch that. He said a T7 here, so a T18. Again, check the ownership when we get there, but I think Kevin Streelman could also be a good pivot. Johnny Vegas actually, as far as I know, I think pulled out of this tournament. It's not showing up here, but pretty sure he withdrew. Chris Goddard up. For me right now, I want to use him on bigger boy courses. I do feel that's where he's got the advantage. This is not where I want to use him. And you can also see there's a couple big red flags that I don't want. Now, I've been on him, I think, like the last couple tournaments, so it would make total sense that I'm not on him this week. He'll finally pop. But yeah, maybe like the John Deere. But the John Deere really, funny enough, well, I think you need to be a really good ball striker for the John Deere. Like TPC Southwind, I'd almost say maybe that makes more sense for Gotterup. But this, I just feel like you just need to put the lights out. Adam Svensson, I mean, you can see he's just been making a shitload of birdies. The model loves him. I've been on this guy. I talked to you about this guy once he got his card back in it very early of this year and was excited because I would used to be able to play this guy, I don't know, 2-3 years back where nobody knew him. And he was a showdown master where he'd be like 6,200 and nobody would have him. And I played him in showdown and I'd just clean house. So I miss those days. And now I think there's so much more coverage and people doing this and, information out there that it's, everybody's gotten smarter and smarter and it's harder to find these guys that, nobody's on and comes out and, just rocks it. So hopefully you've been with me. I think I've picked him literally every week this year if he's played and we're sticking with him. So, I don't think I need to change anything. He's a ball striking extraordinaire usually. He fits that, 295, good accurate. And it was all about the putter, but you can see his putter for the last 20 tournaments, he's been positive. Went nuts at the John Deere. Let's go back to some Bermuda. So he gained at the Valspar. You could see that maybe the Bermuda is definitely not his best surface, but I mean, I'm not too worried about. Does he play in the PGA? Nope, didn't play in the PGA Championship. So the only thing you could probably put a knock against him is you could say, well, he just loves putting on bent greens because that's what they've been playing on and he's been doing very well. I think Brendan Todd, I think we all have the thought that he can't, go super low. But when his 2 tournaments he won at the vacation swing, I think 2019, I think it was like a 30 under, high 20s. Like he can go low. He's actually the prototypical guy that I'm thinking about that I want to play. So he's going to make some of my lineups. If I have 10 lineups, he'll be in a couple. If I have 20, he'll be in 4. But he's just not making my top 15. But I'm letting you know right now that he is not a bad play at all here. And right, he had that close, great comp course at Charles Schwab, a chance to win. I think he was like 100-1. And oh man, was I pulling for him because I had a few bucks on him. And if he would have hit, it would actually made my year from both perspectives. We'll just put it that way. Cameron Champ, nope. Like I said, I've been waiting for that one win. If this is the course, somehow he did it, I would be just flabbergasted. This, to me, makes no sense whatsoever. You see, played her once, miscut. But yeah, like I said, you just never know. Alex Smalley, if you don't know, of course, he's a local. I think since he had a little snippet on the Golf Channel. I think he moved to North Carolina when he was 2 years old. He belongs to Sedgefield. He's played here a ton. Let's take a look here. I think he even got to play. That's 2021. I thought he got to play as an amateur. I know he was on sponsor exemption. I guess that was last year. So he was still a Corn Ferry last year, and then he got a sponsor exemption. But neither here or there. I mean, no reason. You can see he's done some decent work. Let's take a look right here. So a little bit of distance, pretty accurate. Funny enough, past Pollen, but that's such a small data sample that you can't really take a whole lot. So it's the putter. You can see is the bugaboo for him. Irons, ball striking not bad. Last really good putting outing he had was the Mexico Open where he had a 6. But I mean, man, you can look at this 2 ways. The pressure of being at home. I've seen where this has failed. It's your home course. You should know the greens in and out. So I'm on Alex Smalley. I bet him. I think it was 80-1, 90-1, something like that. So I'm on him. Of course, like I said, I like guys that should feel super comfortable and know everything about the place. So. All right, I'm going to kind of fly through the rest of these. I feel like we spent enough time on some of these. So occasionally, great ball striker. Typically the putter is cause issues, but not too bad there. That proximity to pin makes me a little nervous. He's had a couple miscuts, but I wouldn't hold that against him. From an ownership projection, if you want to make a pivot again, thinking about the large GPP, I don't think he's a terrible play. Marty Laird, I think he's a great play if he could just make putts. I think it's also not shown up here at the Barracuda. I think he had like a top 10. It might be in a top 5. I think he had a chance to even compete to win that thing. So it's not going to show up here, but just note to self, he's playing pretty good golf. So again, projected ownership, we'll check it out, but it's pretty low. CT Pan, was kind of like the darling there for a while. You're not hearing a lot. He's at a T2 here. Again, you can make an argument for Ches Reavie. He actually won the Barracuda. So, he does have a win. You're not going to see that here. He had a T8. Course fits him. Colin Tarrant, like it's funny, all these guys in the 7s, you could literally make an argument for. But I'm passing on these. I'm actually gonna sprinkle. I didn't pick him, but I am sprinkling in some Harris English. Maybe because I'm a Harris English, a little bit of a slappy, as in I know how good his game can be. I know he's probably still not 100% back to full form, and maybe he won't come back, but he does all this very well. And typically, he was a really pretty good ball striker. So we'll see. You can see he's had made a cut every time here. T23 2 years ago at T11. So again, if you want to get a little different, JJ Spawn all of a sudden pops back up on the radar. Has that TA at the Rocket where he was just trash against the Valero. But I kind of did some analysis on him, and Bermuda greens do seem to suit him. So no issues to sprinkle in him. Taylor Moore, just for me, no interest. That Rocket Mortgage, sixth place, like, she's not going to do it for me. Nick Harding, I kind of put him in that Goddard up camp. I want him on longer, tougher courses. Aaron Rye, same thing. I would like to use him not on like a scoring fest. I was on Patrick Rogers last week. There's no reason why he could not do well here. Doug Gim, nope. I'm not a big Doug Gim guy unless it's literally at the players. Russell Knox, I looked at a little bit. He showed up a bit in the models. Just the putter. Stewie Sink, again, you can make an argument. Older guys have prevailed here, right? Davis Love, 2017? I think I picked him to do well at the 3M Open. And if I remember correctly, I think after the first couple of days, he led the field in ball striking, just couldn't freaking make a putt. Neesmith, no, again, I just think of those guys when I need some distance off the tee, and that's not here. Stefan Jaeger, I actually have no issues with this. This guy can get super hot and can go low. Of course, we just saw what he did at the Rocket Mortgage. So no issues. Joel Damon typically has done pretty well in Bermuda, the Southern Swing. So this is pulling in, not that information. So again, no issues. There's been some mention of Danny Willett. I don't know why, but I feel like he's like a sneaky showdown play on like Sundays. That's about what I want to do with Danny. Mackenzie Hughes, I've been trying and it just has not been working. But this could be out of the nowhere. This could be like that one bet that this could work for him. Just because what he's elite at is putting. Let's go take a look here. Best showing was at that Avondale Farms, Wells Fargo. Putter has still been working, nothing crazy. RSM, didn't he win the RSM? Yeah, so that's funny. He won the RSM, his first victory. Showed up again. So that's Bermuda, the Honda. You know what? I'm just thinking from a betting perspective. I'm not saying play this guy, but I got to go look at his odds. I'd have to guess he's like 100 to 1 or better. Might be not a bad bet. Lee Hodges, curious how many people go back to him. No issues. Again, like I said, I was on him last week. I guess the weekend, I think you really kind of salted everybody a little bit. I like Tyler Duncan, Matty Wallace. Let's get down to some of my guys again. Ricky Fowler, no thank you. Matty Wallace, again, Sunday showdown play. Seems like he's been working. Andrew Putton could also be sneaky. I didn't even notice that he had a T11 at the 3M Open. So let's take a look here. A couple miscuts. Not what I was thinking. Austin Smotherman, all right, you guys will know I've been picking him a lot. His price tag has moved up a little bit. He is literally, I think, right on the cut line. I don't know if he's 125 or 126 last I saw. Again, I'm not trying to bring that narrative in, but I have seen it. It could, I don't know how you put it. It could be a little more initiative. I don't know, but I'm not saying that's really a thing. But I'm actually going to go with my buddy Blackbeard. I told you I'm betting him. I've been waiting on this guy to do something this year. Probably not too far off from Russ Inley. Kind of my FOMO bet and almost my FOMO play. I'm hoping his ownership stays low because I think this is a great fit. He's hitting that exact driving kind of mark. Bermuda greens is his best surface. You can see the irons have finally kind of started to fire. The putter's firing a little bit. He went nutty with the putter here, but did nothing else. He also, which was not going to show up, and this is kind of why I like him, at the Barracuda, like I mentioned, had a big bet on him there. He was coming in 7th place that Sunday and just did nothing. If he could have just, I don't know. He didn't make any putts. So, but I like Michael Thompson. Petty Gazar, as you guys know, is my broke-back pick forever. I've been off him pretty much all year, and at least that's worked out instead of shifting my money over to Blackbeard, which is really working out well. Vincent Whaley, I think, is a good pick. I like him. He's been playing good golf. When I kind of did the comp course and the Bermuda things, he even looked a lot better. Now, here's a little bit of an issue, but typically, he does putt well in Bermuda. So I guess I took that over the other. You see the Bermuda, Barbasol, just seeing what was in it. The Sony Open, one of those better finishes, OHL. So yeah, I mean, if you're down here, which I think you're going to be, I think you're going to. When I started to put some teams together, it is difficult not to have to put a guy at least below 7,000 or around 7,000. Again, it's all dependent on the builds. If you're curious what I think is the best build, I think it's all full of shit on both sides, right? I think you could make a case for being stable and balanced, and then you can make a case for picking Webb Simpson and Will Z, whatever. This is a course that guys down here in the cheaper area could win it or give you a top five. I mean, there's no problem. So, as I've always said, the guys that changed from a large GPP, the key is unlocking which guy down here is going to do it for you. I like Hank Laboda, the lefty, right? I was on him forever too. Right, he had that little stint back last summer where it looked like he was going to get his first win. Where the hell is it now? Right here. So almost exactly this time he hit this little run here at the Travelers, Rocket, and John Deere. And then all of a sudden he withdrew, if I remember right, I thought he withdrew from another tournament. It would have been, doesn't matter. It was something in between this, and it was some kind of family matter or something. And since then, his game has not been the same. So he's probably kicking his ass. But I like Hammer and Hank if you want to look for a difference. Actually, on Cheston Hadley, I don't know if we've just been getting to see more of him on the coverage, but man, when I see the guy, he's making birdies and eagles and all that, and he's snapping that finger. And what I remember also, and I think last year, let's take a look at this. Yeah, last year he actually was right on the cut line for making the FedEx Cup playoffs. And I think he had a hole in one at the Wyndham, and then just went nuts, and then had like a crazy Sunday to shoot up. So maybe there's some good vibes there. He's also had a nice showing at the Travelers, the 3M Open, the John Deere. So playing good golf. Right, he had a chance to win at Palmetto, which is Bermuda Greens, and in a kind of similar field, right? He had Terrell Hatton. I feel like Koepka was even in that field. I think he missed the cut, which is hilarious. Anyways, I like Cheston Hadley. Charlie Hoffman, I think bet him first round leader. Just see. I mean, he finally showed one glimpse of life at the Rocket. I mean, a guy, if he could have putted neutral, would have went away with that tournament hands down. Yeah. I mean, he gained 8 strokes of the irons, 3 strokes off the tee, and lost 3 strokes played. Now, by Saturday, I think he's losing 5 strokes to the putter. Usually, Charlie Hoffman is not that bad of a putter, but he's been just horrible this year on all fronts. Had a real nice showing. Again, he's getting back on Bermuda, where you can see he's had some nice runs on. So I like Hoffman. Sprinkle him in if you're playing him. I like him maybe even for showdown, and I like him definitely from a betting perspective for a first round leader for sure. He does have a morning tee time. I'm pretty sure about that. Mateo Schwab, no thank you. James Hahn, no thank you. Piercy, this could be sneaky, right? Funny enough, if you go look at Piercy, I think I did this. He's had some recent success. So I'm going to the RBC Heritage. We had a 12th, which is a good comparable course. He could come out of nowhere, which like what we saw. And then of course he blew up at the 3M Open the last day. I already said Michael Gliggett's not a bad play. Nick Taylor can get super hot. I ain't mind Bryce Garnett down here. Satoshi, I haven't even looked at him, but man, I was playing that guy first round leader all the time. If he's got an early tee time, might plug that in. Sorry, I'm going to scroll through these guys because I think I have 1 or 2 more guys. At least one more guy, I know for sure. Here we go. Now, the model's saying no, but the mind's saying yes. And I'll tell you my 2 reasons. So, first off, Richard Wawrinski. You guys also know I've been betting him on these certain courses that I think he could do it. He's like 400 or 500 to 1. You can see he's made the cut every time. He had a T10 in 2017. Do not go nuts with Richard Wawrinski. I mean, yes, he had a T30 at the Rocket. I think he was like, on day 1 or 2 was right up there. But if he's going to do something, this would be a course that he could do it. Let's go look at him real quick here. Again, kind of fits that mold. Now, the accuracy would be nice to be a little higher, but he can get super hot with the putter. You see when that spikes is when he's going to do something. So on Bermuda, he's had some decent showings. Just been trashed during this period. I'm trying to see where he actually... Arnold Palmer, Bermuda again. Bermuda. Sony missed the cut to Amex. I mean, I'm not saying this guy's a good golfer. Don't take me. And I just said, I'm going to play him a little bit from a differentiation. He's projected, I think he's going to be less than 2% owned. And then Sloan, too, I think he'll come in really low, right? Of course, some people might not remember in that 6-man playoff, Roger Sloan was one of those guys. And when I ran the Donald Ross comparisons, he came up very high. And it just seems like this could be, funny enough, one of his best finishes ever on tour. Let's see here. It actually has some good showings at the 3M, Rocket Mortgage. Kind of funny enough, the tournaments where he's done well has kind of fallen in this time period. I don't know. It's a stretch. I'll say that for sure. But he's kind of one of the guys that I'm going to be playing from a cheapie perspective. You can make arguments for quite a few of these guys. Jim Herman, you're a past champion way back. I would much rather play Richard Wierenski, but they're all about the same as in how good they are. All right, let's go look at ownership projections, weather, and then get you guys out of here. All right, so I just updated this literally right now, which, depending on when you're seeing this, but I think I'm recording this around 1:30 Eastern time on Wednesday. So this is pretty up to date. I'm pretty shocked, I'll be honest, as Sun JM. Okay, I guess I should also state, if you're new to watching this show, where this information is coming from, right? It's done in Fantasy National. These are guys and gals that are creating mass lineups and pumping them into Draftkings. You can see over 7,200 lineups, which that's a good sample size. It's all depending on the tournament, but I like that data. So we're getting a pretty good feeling. And honestly, from all the ownership projection stuff I see, I think Fantasy National actually comes the closest out of everyone. We're going to want to look at this number over here. And no shocker, I already mentioned Shane Lowry is way up there on the chalky side. And then Will Z, where are you at? Was down here at 11%. So that's actually went up a little bit since earlier today. I'm sure a little bit of that is people are like, well, wait a minute here. For a few $100, I can play Will Z versus Shane Lowry. They're going to kind of move and pivot. So honestly, I have no problem, getting off these two guys. Again, from a large GPP perspective. But you can see here's my chalk right here. You got Connors, Henley, Horschel, Siwoo, all at that 17, 18%. And then you got more chalk. You got Svensson, HV3, Denny McCarthy, and Hubbard, kind of in that 14 to 15% ownership. Scott Stallings, people are staying on him at 13. Aaron Wise, Will Z, again, I like that. At least we'll get a little change. I'll be shocked if Kevin Kisner is over. Well, like I say, he's had a great course history here. It's all depending. His game, I think it's that recent form versus, horses for courses. So we'll see what wins out. But right now he's around 11% ownership. If you do want to pivot, Seabez, I think, is about the same kind of player. A little cheaper price, I'd go to him. But ownership-wise, pretty similar. Webb Simpson right now coming in at 10%. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But I think that price tag, that is so much to ask. Now, I think he is, if you want to bet him top 10, I think you're getting like 2-to-1 odds. So honestly, that makes sense to me. Go throw some money on a bet, top 10. Davis Riley, people are still kind of hanging in. There's my Munoz, which that's a little shocking. It is almost at 10% ownership. I would think he'd be lower. There's Terrell Hatton. So here's some of the guys I said, Streelman, Hatton, Rose, I think are not bad plays. You can get them less than 9% ownership projected. Got Alex Smalley, like I said, the local. Brendan Todd coming in at less than 8%. I like that play still. There's my Harris English at 5%. Justin Hadley, less than 5%, so I like that. My Vincent Whaley, 3.6. Just kind of looking for now the guys that, to get my differentiation. Michael Thomas, hopefully he has a good tournament, less than 2%. And then my Sloan is about 1%. And Wierenski right now is less than 1%. So, again, that's where I'm at to make, my lineups that I put in. Those are the guys that are going to have to kind of help me out and change. So that gives you ownership projection kind of thoughts. Hopefully that helps. Let's go look at Windfinder weather. Just so you know, what you're going to want to pull up is this Piedmont Triad International Airport. It is pretty damn close to the golf course, and we're looking at the super forecast. So this dives into the hour by hour. And you know what? While we're here, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to update it because I haven't updated probably in the past hour. I highly doubt anything is going to be changed, but just so we're getting the most up-to-date information. Get rid of the ads if we can. All right, so what I noticed earlier, so it's kind of changed. Funny enough, in the morning they had like a little spike. But yeah, maybe there's not much of anything is stating right now to worry about. So the only thing I was looking at was they were stating, now it says nothing, but they were showing rain showers in the afternoon. This is literally an hour ago. So I was kind of like, well, almost an afternoon morning looked like it'd be fair, but this could maybe be something. This is kind of new. So if you take the morning guys instead of the afternoon, they not, it looks like there could be some gust a little higher. But honestly, I mean, I don't see any huge advantage, nothing. So just keep an eye on it. I always show you guys this more so you can do your own research, especially you already know, I say this 1,000 times. You play Showdown, this is a must. Before you do anything, just go check the weather. All right, let's go summarize my picks and then I'll get you guys out of here. Okay, so let's summarize those picks that we just went over just so you remember. And this is my top five, my Fab Five plays. Right out the bat, Will Z. Like I said, a bit of this, I'm hoping that putter works and that he can outscore the other guys at the 10,000 range. It would make a little bit of sense that this would be the tournament he would win, like the last regular season. I mean, we all been waiting this year to crack through. So if the putter goes, I see no reason why he could definitely take advantage of this place. And like I said, it's a little bit of ownership projections between a Shane Lowry and him. I mean, for me, I will take Will Z. Russ Henley, right? I've been waiting for that win this year, well, for a while now. Everything says play Russ Henley. He could be that would be, like I said, a bit of a chalk bomb if he blows up. Everybody's on him, even though I'm always playing Russ Henley. Billy Ho, funny enough too, same thing. I mean, this is a bit of, of course, he's pretty good recent form, like a Daniel Berger. This is the courses that he does damage at. So, it's no shocker. But again, some people just don't like him, like a little bit like a Patrick Reed used to be, and just wouldn't play him. But maybe that's changed. People finally got over that. Corey Connors, I think that fits him perfect. Like this is not like Colonial, where I don't feel like you have to be super accurate, but I think there is a value for hitting fairways here. Not being long, but hitting fairways, giving you better shots on the approach. Of course, better scoring opportunities. And Corey Connors, you've seen it, especially from a showdown play. The guy can just go in fuego. And then probably the one out of the five that the only reason why I got HV in 3 is just what he's been doing from a scoring perspective. I would definitely not fault you for swapping him out for Terrell Hatton or Adam Scott. But I took him over those guys purely because of his scoring over the past 6 tournaments versus the other guys. All right, the guys on deck filling in would be Danny McCarthy. A lot of that, again, mentioned is because I was on him last week. The putter didn't work. That's an anomaly. That's his main weapon. It's pretty much like stating, I don't know, it's pretty much like stating at one time Bryson DeChambeau is not going to gain strokes with the driver. I guess is, even though he started to go wayward that after he got hurt, but there was a time there you can just guarantee he was going to lead off the tee in almost every tournament. Siwoo Kim could be super chalk, and probably out of all the guys that if you are making a GPP lineup and you want to be unique, and if this guy blows up, and it could happen, it's Siwoo Kim, even though everything tells you to play him, that would be the I think the one guy that you'd want to get away from if you want to be unique. Now, cash game, I understand it, or even kind of head to heads or best out of 4. Kevin Kisner, right now is stating I think 11-12% ownership. I'm kind of shocked a little bit by that. I mean, I get it. I mean, if you know this and you're watching this stuff and you do your own research, it all makes sense. But again, his course history or recent form has not been great this year. So there's reasons. I just know that if I don't play him and don't pick him because I was on him last week, that he will show up, and he should show up here. Aaron Wise, maybe a little unique, not super, but I mean, I don't know. I think when it all comes down, when people are making decisions, he still gets that stigma that the putter could hold him back. But great ball striker, and the putter has been better. And then Davis Riley missed the last 2 cuts, so we'll see how that all shakes out. But I like him. He's got that length and has spiked with the putter at times. All right, now kind of the more for the large GPP. This is the kind of round your lineups out, hopefully make you a little uniquer. Sebastian Munoz, which is coming in around 10% ownership. I like him for a straight out bet. First round leader I looked at, but he's an afternoon tee time. Not saying because there's not a huge advantage, but whenever I've had him that he's won, it's been early tee time. So that's just kind of my thoughts there. Svensson, been great ball striking. The putter's been in fuego right now. You got Scott Stallings, also a little bit, just kind of been waiting. I mean, he's just had so many opportunities to win a tournament. So can't get off him now. Of course, Smalley, I mentioned, grew up here, member here, knows the course in and out. Hopefully that comes to fruition to help. Getting back on the Mark Hubbard train, right? I told you the Barracuda, the Barbasol, tournaments that guys, people aren't watching he did great at, and he's been playing good golf, and he's a good putter. Kind of fits this track, I think. So I'm back on him. And now for the cheapie plays. Told you Blackbeard, man, going with it. Last tournament of the year for regular season. Let's do it, Blackbeard, man. We need this. Justin Haley been playing great golf. Also had a great showing here last year. Kind of makes sense. I like his skill set for here. Wawrinski, not too far off from Blackbeard. I mean, I've been, not going nuts with him, but let's put it this way: if somehow he wins this thing outright, it would be an amazing finish to the year from a regular season. Like I said, I think I bet him 500 to 1, 400 to 1, and you can do the math. You don't have to put a lot on him. So let's see. Like I said, worst case, I think he's a pretty good play down in that low 6,000 range. Sloan, I guess, so he's not been playing that great at golf. Of course, I kind of just did the analysis that he's kind of made some sense on the Bermuda tracks. Like he's done okay here. Of course, he was in the playoff last year, so that's kind of why I went there. And then Vincent Whaley been playing pretty good golf again. When I did some kind of Bermuda splits and stuff like that, he kind of popped in the model. So that's the guys that I like. That's your kind of like 7,000 to low 6,000 range. And with that said, guys, that's it. That's my last show of the regular season. Do me the honor as always. You guys are almost all you guys that have been my regulars. Thank you so much throughout the season for clicking that like button, for giving me the positive feedback. If you're new, I also appreciate hearing from you guys. If you have not, for some reason, you have been watching me and you have not subscribed, please do so. Even though, like I said, you got the FedEx Cup coming, where I will definitely do a show for the FedEx St. Jude. And then we got the BMW. I don't know about the Tour Championship because it's such a small field that there's really not a whole lot. I mean, maybe I'll do something quick, but yeah, the shows are going to be maybe a little lighter again for the FedEx playoffs. And then I am probably going to take a little bit of a hiatus. Like I said, we'll see how it all works during the football season. If nobody's out there putting the content out, I know Rick Gaiman will, he seems like he goes year round, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the fields look like. And, if you guys are desperately still wanting to bet at that time, put money on the PGA and not football, then we'll see how it goes. All right, guys, take care. All the best of luck to us. Enjoy the Wyndham, and I'll catch up with you guys next week. Have a great weekend. Talk to you later.